I said, I'm Jamie. I use they, them pronouns. You can find me on Twitter at Temporal Hiccup. And you can find me on itch.io at Temporal Hiccup too. I make a lot of games. I've been slowing down lately, but you can find I counted recently. It's like around 40 games on my itch page. Some of them are very small though. Okay. Some are like super tiny just to justify and defend myself. So, but yeah, next, Agatha, who's the producer of the show, one of the co-hosts of Asians Represents. Agatha, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Agatha. My pronouns are she, her, and I am the co host of the Asians Represent podcast and also the co host of um, the wrap up. I was going to say the Friday show. But it does happen on Fridays. It happens at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, so the same time as the stream. So you should check it out, where we just talk about topics that are relevant in gaming, tabletop role playing game. This Friday, we're actually talking about religion in role playing games, so that's going to be a doozy. So you should really tune in. And if you can't catch it, then you can also check out our YouTube channel, which is Asians Rep. So that's me. And I am playing Mary, who is. I already forgot what I am. I am a Santalmo, so I'm like a spooky, the flame spirit that deals a lot with both the dead and the alive. So that's me. I'm gonna toss the ball to Connie.
Sounds good. Hi, everybody. My name is Connie. My pronouns are whoops. So I was trying to watch it on my phone and an ad came on. My pronouns are they, he, and she. You can find me on Twitter at by Connie Chong. I also run the Transplanar RPG Twitter account, which is an all transgender people of color led 100% homebrewed Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition live stream actual play campaign set in an original non-colonial anti-Orientalist world. And we stream Saturdays at 3 p.m. U.S. Central Time. So if you're free this Saturday, we'd love to have you. I play in this very, very fun and very emotionally traumatic, but in a great way campaign. I play your Aswang, which is basically, to my understanding, a blood demon, and a 3 days grace song embodied in the form of Grist, who uses all pronouns. And with that, I'll pass it along to, let's do John.
Ah, crap, I've been called out. Hello, I'm John. You can find me on Twitter at Ryamasa, RY0MASA. I do tabletop nonsense on today as well as on Thursdays with the Entangled series, which is an Expanse RPG show on over at Unmade Gaming at 8 o'clock p.m. EST. Probably not playing tomorrow, though, because the whole southern snow situation, snowpocalypse that's happening. But just so y'all know. And then also I am a variety streamer on Twitch at Ryomasa, RYOMASA. Got that one. Yes. On Tuesdays and Thursdays at 3 p.m. EST, and I play anything from Hades to Destiny 2 to Red Dead Online to I think we're gonna my friend Josh and I are gonna be gay and do crimes and play Payday 2 relatively soon. So that's pretty great. And then a whole bunch of like Destiny 2 and stuff like that. So I play a lot of games, and that's what I do most of there. We just recently hit affiliate on my channel as well, so I can make a little bit of sweet, sweet money in that like, you know, capitalist hellscape that is Jeff Bezos Amazon land. But yeah, that's it for me.
And who do you want to go next, John?
Ting.
Hi, I'm Ting. Find me on Twitter, Ting Tut. All my other links are there. On Tuesdays, I'm on over at Nerds with Dice, playing a Risk campaign. And in this game, I'm playing Kristen, the Dewata, who has control over the elements, kind of like out of Avatar. And they like to roam the streets of the city, performing acts of kindness, big and small.
Absolutely, very wholesome.
And Leandro's the last one.
Yes, I get to be last. So all the more people with more impressive credits have gone first. Hi, my name is Leandro. I use he and pronouns. I currently live in Dublin. Don't ask what time it is right now. Yeah, I play a lot of role-playing games. You can find me on Twitter at lpondoc. That's LPONDOC. Again, I'm not as involved with many things as I'd like to be, but I will also continue to shout out the Roll Plus Bond charity stream that we're doing. Oh my God, I'm looking at the calendar. That's next week. Okay. All right. So from the 26th to the 28th, we're raising money for charity, just streaming indie games nonstop. We're starting off with a game called Be Fay Do Crimes. So that's just going to set the tone for the rest of the weekend. So that's starting on the 26th next week. That's it for me. I also actually nope. I should mention the character I'm playing for tonight. I'm playing Ismeria. Uses any and all pronouns. They're Tikbalang, which means they carry the spirit of all the animals who have passed on since this dystopian cyberpunk hellscape has come up. But she's got issues, mainly too much gestalt identities coming forth. I don't know if they realized that their horse form is now gone thanks to that 3-day grace song of a character. But they've got plans. It'll be fine. It'll be fine.
No biggie, no biggie. All right, and so in our last session, we got to hang out in the Haven. We got to meet some people. The guest star graffiti on the wall got a lot of play last time. In fact, but we'll get into that a little bit more. We'll do a previously on Balikbayan Into the Dark. For everybody, for all the characters to help us remember what happened last time. But before we get into that, we decided that we're going to go check out the Sensorium today, which I'm super excited about. So for those who are familiar with Balikbayan, this stuff is all brand new. I put together, I separated the city into distinct sections that have their own moves and stuff like that. So I forgot to mention that Balikbayan, I was gonna say Balikbayan Into the Dark. Balikbayan, Returning Home is based on the belonging outside belonging system, also known as no dice, no masters, except there is a game master. Hence why I stuck with belonging outside belonging. But yeah, and so the Sensorium, the description for it here is, you can find anything and everything to bury the senses and numb the pain. Hollow dreams, lovers for hire, and any number of tools of distraction and pleasure. But power hides here, waiting for us to find it and feed it. So last time we unlocked a new move, sell a part of your soul to a discerning client. I will say that I added a few moves, so I'm pretty sure that, you know, we might stick with this one, but just in case. I added perfectly embody the desire of another, experience the world through the body and memories of another for a time, or create a perfect virtual world haunted by your subconscious. You know, no biggie, just, you know, your subconscious out to not necessarily get you, but probably out you in some way. So those are options. But you know, if we want to stick with sell a part of your soul, I think that's cool. I think we can decide on that later once we go through the other parts. And in terms of hidden power, the one that we chose is Kasapmata tells fortunes from blood and memory, freely given. I also added 2 more just in case. The Queen of Depth and her perfectly crafted synthetic pheromones knows everyone's secret desires, and elsewhere grants others the map to their true home in exchange for their identity. So those are a few things I added. But basically, I still like Kasapmata though, so we can figure that out. So our first order of business is we'll choose a leader for the Sensorium. So this is the person who is mainly in power behind the scenes. If we want to choose all four again, we can absolutely do that, like we did for Haven. But let me go over our choices. We have the Gentleman, an AI that studies and predicts human desire; Valina, a gladiator champion; Chartreuse, an artisan of illegal pleasures. Who I'm glad I pronounced that correctly. I just realized when I picked that name, that's kind of hard to pronounce. Anyway, and then Balasong, an aswang who feeds on emotions. So instead of just blood, there's some emotions there. So which one of these are we most keen on? And I want to ask Leandro, which one are you most keen on us interacting with for the leader?
These are all good choices. But for some reason, my mind went to Balisong mainly because we have too many emotions. Can we get rid of some of them?
Yes, good. Same. Can't just name your NPC Butterfly Knife and make me not want it.
It's true. It's true. It is Butterfly. I just love the idea of a song named after a weapon. So, all right. How do we feel about Balasang being the leader of the Sensorium? Okay. Ooh, I like how this is working out. Okay. And then, so next we're going to choose our aesthetics and our choices. Once again, these are just, jumping off points. We can change them or add new things. So we have golden surfaces and delicate designs, android animals that are more real than what they mimic, music, sound, and vibrations that manipulate the senses, exquisite food and drink that can only be tasted by those deemed worthy, whatever that means, private rooms and intimate alcoves surrounding an arena stage, faces and bodies that respond to your hidden desires, performance and shows that are as dangerous as they are mesmerizing. A single AI houses across different bodies that predict what you need, a curated collection of illegal pleasures, or something else that tempts and deceives. So we can pick 2 to 3, and this will help us feel out what's going on with the Sensorium. So maybe we can ask, let's see, John, is there something that's calling out to you?
No, what gave you that idea? I am a sucker for suffering, and I think that faces and bodies that respond to your hidden desires, because we've already have that a little. We've touched on that a little with the little god of better times, and I think it'd just be really fun because we've sort of seen how Grist responds to someone that does that there. I kind of want to see how everyone else responds to that, and that just makes me happy.
Absolutely, absolutely. I really like that. Okay, so and I think I'll ask more questions about that once we have more aesthetics, but super good. I like that a lot. Agatha, why don't you go pick one?
Sure. Okay, so we already have hidden desire. Do I want an arena stage or performances and shows that are as dangerous as they are mesmerizing? I think I want the latter. Yes, performances and shows that are as dangerous as they are mesmerizing.
Yeah, do you have an idea for what kind of shows these are? Or
No, I don't.
don't worry, that's what we're all here for. It's it's enough
opening it
that
to the
interests you.
table.
Yeah. Ooh, this is so interesting so far. I'm getting very strong HBO show vibes, right?
Good.
Sexy.
Yeah. Right, there's a Netflix show vibe and an HBO show vibe, and anyway, so I watch a lot of stuff. And then Ting, I'd love to ask which one interests you.
Oh, okay. Is the Sensorium a physical brick and mortar place, or is it a virtual space?
Oh.
Good questions. I kind of let me know how everybody feels about it, but I kind of like bringing in the two, it's a physical space, but then the moment you enter it, there's like an augmented reality situation happening. Like it opens up to a part of the spirit realm, and it uses parts of it, right, to digitize things. Does that make sense? Right. I'm like wholesale stealing from the Veil, which is also an excellent CTRPG, because they have something like that, this augmented reality situation going on. But yeah, so Ting, go ahead.
Private rooms and intimate alcoves surrounding an arena stage.
Ooh, I like. We are sealing the deal with our HBO vibe, right? So I'm seeing like a lot of shadows, right? Like there are people going in and out. I'm thinking because of the fact that we have faces and bodies that respond to hidden desires, someone walks into an alcove and they'll walk out a different person, right? Responding to whatever the person in the alcove wanted, right? Yeah. So let's see. So we have the idea that it's mostly a physical space. Do we think the Sensorium is like in a fancy part of town, or is it like on the edge, between fancy and rundown, or is it deeper and rundown? What do we think?
I feel like we've been in sort of like a rundown area for a bit. It could be really interesting if the Sensorium was kind of like high class ritzy.
Yeah,
also, Agatha, how does should I turn it down more? My mic?
No, this is good.
Great. Okay, sounds good.
Perfect. Yeah, so it's a really ritzy area. This is a part where, and that's also true. We could draw in like CORP clients and stuff into the mix, right? So this is like a really high end place. Go ahead.
What if it looks like that? Like, what if the actual physical structure of it is still as run down and broken as the rest of the city, but the augmented reality on top of it is what creates that sort of glitzy illusion, so that everyone commits to the bit at that point, like when you're working there, because this is like, if you can lose yourself in the Sensorium, you've won half the battle of forgetting about the place outside.
And that feels like something rich people would do, right?
Yeah, a little smidgen, teeny bit.
Gentrification, but
and you don't even have to build anything.
Yeah. I want to add another thing. What if this building is close to, if not the same building that Xander used to be in? So it's like,
Sure. Absolutely, 100%.
Just so that we can like set up Grist turning into a building.
Cool, done.
Right.
Can I say that the performance and shows, obviously they're on this arena stage, and I really like the word arena. It almost sounds like it's a fight, but it's a sexy fight. And I feel like it's the most dangerous, I guess, is when the clients also go on stage and that's like the fun part of this show, because you get to take part in it. But I don't know what things take part. I still haven't thought of that. I just feel like that is why it seems dangerous, because it's actually more like your identity. It could accidentally or on purpose, I don't know, be exposed, and that's the danger that excites people.
Yeah. I love that so much. I already have a few ideas for what the shows could possibly be. I kind of like the idea, like these rich people, like they borrow these other bodies that don't belong to them, right? In order to like.
Do we just go full altered carbon on this nonsense? Because that's great.
A little bit.
So in.
A little bit. I love altered carbon. I was really impressed by the show. There's some parts that were like, no. But but overall, it was like that first season was excellent. And so, but there's still like a danger, right? Like if you're in the body when it dies, maybe there's some sort of feedback, right? And that's what the rich people are after, that risk. But they're still rich people, so it's not a complete risk. I'm just going to point that out, just enough to make it exciting.
Manageable risk.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I like that a lot. And then so the phases and body that respond to your desire, we could go um we could go robotic, cybernetic AI with this, but I also kind of like the idea of um what if they're like part elemental, right? Or elementals entirely that know how to do this. But how do we feel about that?
Could you clarify know how to do what again?
Oh, sorry. That know how to respond to the hidden desires. So basically, like we know that there are people who work at the Sensorium that cater to whatever you desire. They can change their face and they can change their bodies based on what you want. So this could be like a cybernetic cyborg AI situation. Or we could combine it with the idea of the machine magic of elementals that could like assist in doing this. Either they're elementals themselves or they're using a part of elemental magic. There isn't a Swang who's like running the place. So
I like the idea that some elemental magics being like commodified to really make the space feel otherworldly. But it's a safe kind of elemental magic. There's like enough there to feel risky, but again, back to the whole, you know, cheap thrills kind of vibe. Like because there's rich people here, they can't really do anything too risky. But it's just there.
yeah, how do we feel about that? Okay, very cool, very cool. All right, and then next, we're going to choose our threats. We can choose 1 to 2. So this is like the underlying danger underneath everything. So we have our choices are a sentient smog that feeds on those nearby. Corrupted memories have taken on new terrifying forms. A virus that feeds on desire and births horrors. Sulad bleeds into this place and drains life from here. A rebellious AI is building something dangerous the Corp cannot ignore. An ancient being of broken magic feeds on the vulnerable, or something else that punishes and corrupts. So, which one are we excited about?
Can we combine two?
Of course we can. What would you like to combine?
Well, yeah, it says choose 1 or 2, right? So we can.
Well, I was gonna take one and then smash them together to make a new one and then add more threats because suffering. But so I really like the idea of like a sentient smog because I'm thinking like almost like Victorian gaslamp Jack the Ripper esque neon like smog in the city. But I want to combine that with like the next two. So corrupted memories have taken on two terraforms, device that feeds on desire. What if it's a fog that when you're in it pulls those memories out, reflects them, and creates those images in the smoke? And they take on that sort of like a pseudo real quality, I guess, like a corruption of. It's almost like a corruption in the augmented reality of the area, I guess.
Yeah. Like it responds to the augmented reality. That is super cool. I really like that.
I really love that idea. Would this be by design, or is this like a problem the Sensorium's trying to fix?
Good question.
Why not both?
I mean,
Yeah, what if it started as a problem and then they're like, oh wait, we can use this.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah.
Or
like
like
really interesting.
Or it
Is
was
there like a back room? If you don't pay, they're like, put him in the smog. They throw him in there.
Well, I mean, that could be a really interesting idea, right? To think about, like, if you go into the Sensorium, because I think, like to touch on real world politics for a second, one of the really cool things that like we could touch on with this is the way that like cities and things will hide their like homelessness problem by like just cleaning everything. So what if the unspoken rule of Sensorium is be indoors by a certain time at night? Like you can have all the fun in the world, you have all this, but by the time the time it clocks, you better not be outside. And maybe for some people in the Sensorium, that's like it's just like it's like a quirk in like some sort of glitch in the system, and they haven't figured out how to clean it. But maybe that's the actual, like the purpose is just to keep the riffraff out that don't belong. Thoughts, potentially some real world implications. Thinking about it.
Yeah. I really like it. That's super cool.
I
Right,
I
so
like that a lot. I like the idea of the smog being like a byproduct of all the fucked up magic that the sensorium requires to run. It's just sort of like like it's you know, like when you're like trying to make you know, make a carving out of wood, you're gonna have a bunch of shavings left over. So the
Yeah,
smog is just
that makes sense to
like
me.
it's just part and parcel of it.
super good. I was just taking notes. Very good, very good. So we're gonna combine these first two ideas. Is there a second one that we're like super into that like we'd love to see?
As the Santelmo, I'm just interested in the Sulad bleeding in.
Yeah, very cool, very cool. Yeah, and that can work towards what you hope for too. So that could
That's
be
really
interesting.
that's really cool because if you have the idea of augmented reality, you know, ghosts in the machine, and then there's actual Sulad ghosts mix in, and no one can quite ever tell which one is which. That's a really fun thing.
Ooh. Yeah, very good, very good. Let me just, I'm going to copy as soon as I can remember how to pull up. Okay, there you go, the data sheet. And then I have to hunt. Let's see. Da, 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 da. Very good. Okay, we have this truly, I really like how the Sensorium feels very dangerous, but it's a very subtle kind of
Yeah.
danger, which is very cool. I like that a lot. Okay, and then with that, I think our sensorium is ready. Uh, so we're going to start with previously on Balikbayan Into the Dark. So what I'd like you to do during this time is like just give us a moment or two of like those previously ons where we see what happened to your character last time, right? That you feel is important or really speaks to the character or brings up something you want to explore in this session, whatever you like. So we'll go in, yeah, I think we'll go in like reverse character keeper order. So let's start with Mary. What do we see of Mary previously on?
Okay, so the first cut is Mary going, and then waking up in this dilapidated bathtub with a corpse underneath her. And then it cuts to her at the ramen shop and sitting and talking like an old man to her sister, sibling. Um, and then her also asking her sister, but who's going to take care of you? And then cut again to her in a dark alleyway, coming out of the memory of when she read the memory of what's her name?
Oh, Jade. No worries, no
Jade.
worries.
Thank you.
Like, yeah, sure, sure, sure.
Of Jade, and then putting her hands on Jade's eyes and taking away those memories. And then when the hand comes away, I guess goes to the next character, which is Grist.
Cool. I think the first recap you see is sort of that, like, it's one of those big open wide shots where you sort of see Xander sitting in the middle of what is like a ruined sort of auditorium or some sort of like meeting room, and is sitting in the rain, and the sort of eyes are flickering out, like rolls back, and there's sort of the red irises, and his eyes roll back to start. And then basically, so like Xander's eyes sort of roll back and then roll forward, and his eyes, the sort of digital irises are replaced as the little sort of automaton next to him sort of regains its light. And then you cut from there to, I think, to him showing up in the ramen shop, and as his eyes sort of split apart and sort of do that like double iris effect again, side to side, and then switch back as he's sitting down to eat food. You see, like, I think there's like a quick two-shotter of like, you can hear the fight to Ismaria, and then you can see Gris sort of pass by him as he sort of like looks over his shoulder and watches, then sort of goes back to the food. Then you see that exact same scene from Gris thing, but shot from Xander's POV, like over the shoulder, from the over his shoulder that way, so that when when the strike goes through and his head turns, you get like the head into the camera, and like the snap focus from Gris' head to his, and then when the little god of better time sort of disappears and vanishes, and you see Xander sort of like his, like the eye in the side of his face that's been sort of mauled sort of reconstructs itself over what looks like a wire framework of light, and then he goes and sits back down and eats, and then sort of pulls back from the door, since like I think Grist has left at this point, and we pull back out through all the way outside, I think, is where we're gonna go.
We see Kristen, a montage of them helping people around the city, and then the Guardian warning them of something, showing them a dark, empty cave, and then Kristen delivering wood to Rose's ramen shop. Then there's when the after the fight breaks up, Kristen is helping clean up a bit, and gets drawing blank. Follows Mary outside, and listens to her conversation.
What do we see of Ismaria?
Yeah, I think you get like quick cuts of the bat flying alone up in the sky, being kind of like chased by the drone. I think you mostly see the stuff that Yusmeria didn't see, which is them leaping back into the haven, but their ungainly entry letting the spirit realm leak into that drone. You see Ismeria about to go to the ramen shop, but then sees Christus there. It's like, no, I'm gonna hang back out here. Only to be confronted by said weird mutating drone. You get like a very nice shot of the, oh my god, they blew so much their effects budget on this shot of this horse, and then cut to Gris jumping in, essentially kill stealing. Ismeria's like moment there, and again we see the spirit of the horse running through the graffiti away from Ismeria. You get like Ismeria's mumbled, I could have handled that. And then you see them turning Kristen away, being like, "Oh, I gotta go for a run. Not feeling hungry." And then I think we get like the last shot of her like crawling into the workspace of their friend, and kind of like telling them about their plans of being like, I'm gonna give wings to people I care about, and we're just gonna leave this city. Good luck to that.
Absolutely. And I think that last shot of blooming your holo artist friend, painting that person who suspiciously kind of maybe looks like Grist, maybe not, could just be inspiration. Lots of people look like Grist, not. But on that note, I think like the camera zooms in to the point where we can see each pixel of the holo paint like sort of like pull apart and come back together. And we know that some time has passed, Ismeria. And so Ismera, when Risu, one of the leaders of the Haven, part of the council of leaders, so Risu is a Tikbalang with most of their magic, most of her magic withered away. Uh, why is it that Risu calls you to her? What is it that you help Risu with sometimes?
Um, ooh, I think Risu kind of like is expecting me to do kind of like what Xander was doing for those little gods, or when we saw them last session, like letting them get a taste of something. But I think it's different for Tikbalangs because he carries so much like info, um, like actionable kind of like info that like it's hard to give that kind of magic away. Hence why Ismeria hasn't gone ahead with her plan to give people wings. Um, so every now and then, Risu I think calls him in to like basically chat about the spirit realm, to like try and reconnect with it. Yeah, I think that's mostly what Ismeria is being called for.
Yeah, absolutely. And so when you go to Risu's apartment, it looks very similar to the apartment of the old man that Mary was in. So it's cramped, but here, like in this space, like as you walk to it, the rain comes down hard. It's night because it's always nighttime in a cyberpunk world, and you can hear the rain on the tin roof coming down. And so in this small room, Risu has actually pushed aside most of her belongings, and then there's this as wide as possible circle in the middle where she's drawn a boundary for the magic to go through. So when you see Risu, she's very small. She looks really young, even though you know for a fact that she's centuries old, but she looks like she's only about 17. She has long black hair, a hood over her head, and she has very plainly the markings of when she worked with the corp. You know that these particular markings are given to the elementals who refuse to obey, right? Who have caused several problems for the corp. So they have to be marked in a certain way so that other corp people know that this one's problematic, right? Like this one is a elemental you have to be careful about. And so she tries to hide it. You can tell like every time she tries to use her magic to like cover it, it only lasts for a short time. And so by the time you come here, it's starting to fade and the numbers are starting to peek through. Um, and as she sees you, she talks in a voice that's very hoarse and very low, because the corp has tried many times to manipulate her voice to try to silence it. So, but I feel like she's been working with you to strengthen her voice so that it's easier for her to speak again. But when Risu sees you, she says, Ismeria, I'm so glad. Um, People in the chat are talking about how hot people are. I pick I have this problem of like picking hot pictures for all the NPCs. Anyway, so Risu looks at you and she says, I'm so glad that you could make the time, Ismeria. I know you're really busy. I heard about what happened with the drone. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm okay. Well, Grace took care of that. It's that was my fault though. I think that was my fault. I got reckless out and about. I please understand. I'm not trying to bring more heat down
No, of course
on
not.
Haven.
It's not your fault. The court has chased all of us. I think the more important question is, have you told Grist how you feel about them?
I
And she kind of smiles a little bit, raising an eyebrow.
Yeah, I think somehow all the animal faces that that make up Ismeria's look, they all look affronted. Um, every single one. If you thought a crab couldn't look affronted, it can. Um, I don't think Chris needs to know anything more than they need to know. Um, it's not important. What's important is keeping this place safe. I it's not like it's in the grand scale of things, it's not important.
I suppose you're right. And she smiles and she leads you towards the circle. I I already asked. Haven owes so much to you and to the rest, but I do have a favor to ask. It's about Balasong from the Sensorium.
Mhm.
And so, Ismaria, I want to ask you, what is your connection with Balasong? Like, why are you nervous when Risu asks you for this favor?
Ooh. I think because Balisong feeds on emotion, I think they are like I'm not sure what their pronouns are, but they are like they're the one. I think the last time Ismeria like tried out their services because Balisong feeds on like emotions, they did mention like strip away all the different gestalt personalities to make up Ismeria, and might have drilled down to the person that makes up Ysmira's core, which is someone they don't really want to be again. Their Duende friend who created those enslavement protocols. Um, so that's why Ysmira doesn't want to. The nice thing with having many animal faces that like Risu doesn't see but can probably sense that. Yeah, Ysmira doesn't look too keen about this, but it's okay. I think they'll just nod and like say like it's what's Balisong been up to lately? What's the problem?
That's the thing. They told me that they have a message for me, but I don't know why they couldn't just send it over, or it has to be in person, she says. And could I ask you and maybe some of the others to go and check? We've been hearing warring reports about what's happening in the Sensorium, but if Balasong needs our help.
I understand they're they're important to they're important to people. I suppose. I think can I use a weak move in my distress here? I think I'm a bit more distressed
Of
than
course you
I
can.
imply. I kind of want to lose control of my shape and abilities for just a moment.
Of
'Cause
course.
I'm distressed enough. Um, and I do want to make note that like this is less like because of Balisong the person, more like just what they can do. Who knows? Maybe Balisong is a very nice person. It's just that they have these capabilities. You know, it's like being friends with a scorpion. Sure, they've got poison, but they could. But who knows what the scorpion's like?
That makes sense. So what
Into
does it
that
look
story,
like?
doesn't the scorpion like literally stab the like? I just want to hold on a minute.
Well, that was one of the. Okay, I was gonna say one of the bad scorpions. We're getting.
I mean, I didn't want to mention it, but you know, perfectly nice scorpion until you go with them over a river. But you know,
But yeah, I think yeah, lose control of my shape. I think you can see it's almost like the flickering faces are like they're trying to cohere into like probably like something nice and domesticated, like you know a cat or a dog or something, but it's not really working. Instead what's bleeding through is Ysmeria's original form, which is a collection of or true form, which is a collection of like stolen dark matter and running lightning. So it's like the lightning is bleeding through the different like parts of their holographic like face. And I think that it's the point where like Ismeria like has to like really like sit down really hard in front of Risu. Um, but they very pointedly say, "It's okay. I'll do what's needed, Risu. It's okay. I know it's
and
important."
and Risu nods, but is looking at your magic And without saying anything, she reaches out and touches your shoulder, and she allows part of that disruptive magic to be absorbed into her so that it won't hurt you or it won't get loose in Haven. And you can see her like barely wince. You understand that she's probably in a lot of pain as she absorbs it, but her face remains calm. But then the more the magic starts to pull away, and you see the numbers come out and they start to shift and change. And she says, Ismaria, I wouldn't ask you if I, and she pauses. The last time I went to the Sensorium, it was, but thank you. Thank you for doing this. And so I think you should also take a token for intimately connecting to, going out of your way to help someone from the Haven.
Yeah. I think like because it seems like we're closing at the scene. The last thing that like Ismera does is like they calm down after Risu takes in this energy, and they kind of like take a deep breath and they say, well, I'll get to it, but let's do your vocal exercises. What bird do you want to meet today?
And Risu smiles and she says, I've heard of the sparrow. I forgot what it looks like, but I'd like to see one today.
Yeah. And I think like Ysmeria, this is just a neutral move, so it just changes form, and I think it's just like, what do I describe it? Animorphin stuff. Like I think
like if we slowed it down frame by frame, it's animorph.
Yeah. It's like they bend their head backwards and kind of like almost like they digiform into like a sparrow that will just kind of like flit around Risu and sing a tweet a nice song.
Perfect. Oh, do we want to cut to the scene with Barry and Xander, or do we want to cut to the Sensorium?
I feel like we could get an idea of the Sensorium first, and then we can maybe have like us entering in a brief flashback. I don't know, but I like this like opening of the smoggy Sensorium.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. And so with that, the camera lifts away from this apartment. We see the sparrow flitting back and forth, and Risu holds out a hand, her eyes full of real hope. And we're reminded that it doesn't matter how much Risu has been hurt by the corporation, she still believes. And she reaches out to touch the sparrow. And as the camera moves away, it pulls up, and we see the lights of the city bleeding and twinkling. We see, even if it's night in the distance, the factories are full of flame and fire. And so the clouds, you can still sort of see them against the night sky. You can still see their shape. And the stars are almost completely drowned out from all of the lights here. And as the camera comes back down towards the Sensorium, we see this is a part of the city that's just right on the edge of what is beautiful and acceptable. We can see that there's a patrol of people hired by the Corp moving back and forth. They have these huge visors, huge bits of like tactical armor on as they go back and forth, protecting the interests of the Corp. And this particular building, it looks, the only way to describe it is beautifully run down. You can tell people have gone over what remains of this gutted building that burned down to the ground, and they just artfully crafted bits of it to bring out its natural beauty. You can see there's a line of like really fancy cars coming along, and this is cyberpunk future, so they don't have wheels, right? They're just kind of like hovering and shit. And so the cars come by and people step out, and so these are people who are so incredibly rich, but they told themselves they're slumming it today, so it's just like lower end designer clothing that they're wearing. It's just like some golden jewelry and augments rather than all out, right? And And when they step out of the car, their augments are like deep, beautiful, real wood, which is absolutely like most people cannot afford those kind of augments where it's based on like actual organic material, and for it to work with the technology. And so we can see there's a femme who steps out, like one complete leg is just engraved with gold and the wood as they step out of the car and walk towards. And they're all wearing like these strange like veils over their faces to hide their identities. Like they just look like a piece of fabric, but it moves and it shifts so that when you try to look at their faces, your vision blurs. And when they speak, their voice is disguised in some fashion, so their real voice doesn't come through. And then they walk towards the Sensorium doors. I think we're going to get a close-up of this really, really sick bike. So Grist, tell me about your bike.
Oh my god, hell yes. It is like, okay, so it has wheels, which sets it apart from everything else. And it is just like I don't want to do like flame decals. That would be way too much. But it's definitely like it's like sleek black. It's got these like chrome like inlays. Like when it goes, it's like very Tron. You know, like when it goes, you can see poof, like the after effect of like the blue light like sleeking by. And it's got these built-in speakers that just blast like her music, forcing everyone to listen to it. You know, like if you ever heard like a really loud car go down your street, like bass, like crank that up to like an 11, like you can hear the foundations of your like home shaking as she drives by. And it's got this like hollow screen coming up, and I think she's got it like half on autopilot. She's like going through a bunch of different like probably like porn ads or something, like swiping as she's pulling up to the Sensorium. I think when she pulls up, she weaves between these two like rich folks and like almost like bowls them over. And like I think there's like an actual exhaust pipe out the back, which is also like pretty like retro, and it's like just like smog, like black smog comes out. It's extremely gaudy, very loud, and it makes everyone stare. Then she pulls it up to the curb, hops off.
Absolutely. And so I assume that you're wearing like a super hot like
oh, she is
like,
rocking
outfit.
like yep, and she takes off this like sleek black helmet, right, tucks it under her arm, and we see she's dressed like very like Kristen Stewart, like very like, you know, there's like a button down, but it's buttoned like a little bit too far down, you know, this like kind of like fucked up blazer that like is like fashionably like kind of like dusty, and it's got like like a patch on the elbow, and these like, you know, it's like butch slutty is what she's wearing, and she's got like the sides of her head have been like freshly shaven down, even though it's only been like a few hours since we last saw her, and like her hair, big flowing, I think like black hair has been like pinned up in almost in like a ponytail, and she's got her shades on. She was wearing shades, yes, underneath the tinted motorcycle helmet, which tells you just exactly who she is. And she tosses her keys at like, is there a valet?
Oh, of course there's a valet. Yeah.
Yep, she tosses her keys at a valet.
And they like catch it. And then the other valets look at them like, oh, you got Grist bike. Oh well, good luck.
You put a scratch on this baby, and I'll have your guts for dinner.
Sorry, I'm tempted to say that they look a little excited at the idea.
Oh God. Okay.
But then they control their expression.
Even the
no.
NPCs are like, step on me.
Yeah. Literally.
Or like,
taught me. Oh yeah. She's tapping into their desire to be consumed like a good Aswang.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
She's a top. That's how I'm interpreting this.
Jesus, good.
Absolutely, 100%. And so, and I like this. I like the idea. Like, there's this growling from the engine that's underneath the music the whole time, like the slow growl. But as you like pull out the keys, the growl and the music abruptly stops, and then we hear like in the distance a bike come up as well, and this one is like sleek. And it's like, instead of black, it's like this deep burgundy color, and it bleeds these like dark purple magenta lights. And we see Rose step off of the bike, And so she has this long leather coat that has like really complex designs of roses on it, and she pulls off the bike, which has this huge holographic like rose along the side. And as she pulls it off, it stays onto her face for a moment. And she says, Grist, it's very hard to keep up with you, darling. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, I beat you here. Does that mean you owe me a drink?
Well, and she smiles. I can give you more than just a drink. So the usual.
That sounds good. And I might be in the mood for something a little bit more filling, as you know. And that look of like glamour, like whatever, like cockiness, like sort of like wavers for just a moment. As Grist reflects on the real reason she's here, which is to get information from Rose, right? To talk here.
Absolutely. And you can tell that
Cool.
Rose is like putting on a show for people who are watching. Like she's hyper aware that people are watching. Like even those rich people behind the veils who are pretending they're not looking, they're absolutely looking, right?
That makes a lot of sense. I think Grist holds out like an arm for Rose.
Absolutely. And when Rose wraps her hand around yours, you can feel how she's trembling and she's just covering it up, right? Like she's a professional. She understands how to hide these things, but the trembling is still there. You can tell that she's incredibly nervous. And we see the two of you step in. So I want to ask, Kryson, what do we see of you? Like, are you outside the sensorium? Are you already inside?
Uh, I had this idea that Kristen would be there because this building used a lot of energy. So
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
uh, they'll be they're siphoning off power to fill these batteries that that people need uh, around the city.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. Like, they're, in fact, I would say that they're taking way more than they should because they have like several backup, like in case something goes wrong, they have several backup power sources, but it's like an obscene amount of energy that they're taking from other parts of the city. And most notably, like the not as well off parts, right? Who can't really do anything about it.
Yeah, so they're outside around back doing that.
And so, and then I think we're going to cut to Xander and Mary real quick. Like, what do we see of you? Are you in the sensorium? Are you looking for something or someone outside?
Oh, did we get here? Out of curiosity. Because I don't know. I'm kind of curious as to what Mary said to Xander to get them to go to the Sensorium to investigate crimes, quote unquote. Because like last time we checked, like we left off, they weren't in the same spot. So I'm kind of curious how that ended.
Well,
Like they were inside and outside, right? But like we hadn't talked yet, so I was kind of I'm curious.
Do you want to get that scene?
I would like to, if it's cool with you. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
that
it'd be
sounds
fun
good.
because we haven't actually like played in the scene yet.
Yeah, so Mary would go find Xander, I think.
Okay, I mean Xander, I think like yeah. After the confrontation with Chris, I don't remember which one of us left. I think it was Xander who left because
yeah,
I think he was very clearly like, okay, it's a bad time, we're going. So I think Xander went back to what like passes for home, and just kind of like took a seat on this like it's kind of almost a pulpit, like in the way like that kind of raised dais you get in like your old like traditional Catholic churches, and I think it's sort of sitting, but like unlike you're like a priest who's going to sit in like a chair in the back, Xander's sitting on like the little like step leading up to the dais and is ignoring most of the back area entirely, because that makes him further away from like the little gods and the people he tries to help.
Right. Yeah.
So I think he's sort of sitting there, kind of like kind of leaning on like arms on his thighs, just kind of leaning on and sort of waiting to see if people come by and if they need help, because that's what he's there for.
Yeah, and I'm imagining like the lights from outside just like shining down on Xander with the head bowed and stuff. And then
Cool. I dig it.
and the camera pulls back, and then just standing on the side is Mary, in the shadows.
Mm-hmm.
Xander.
Yes. Can I help you?
Did you there's CORP in you, isn't there?
I mean, there's CORP in all of us, technically. I'm not quite sure what you mean.
It's in the way you walk. You walk like CORP. That's useful. I need to find out about the spirits that have been going around killing people, other living things, and I need to go to the Sensorium.
Ah, you wish me to play a part.
You don't need to do anything, you just need to walk up.
I mean, walking I can do. Although if that is your plan, it ends a little abruptly, I would think.
Do you want anything, Xander, in return?
You're the one who walked in with the passenger in the other passenger in the ramen shop, weren't you? Yeah.
Yes.
I don't think I need something in return for this one. Let's call it a professional courtesy from someone in a similar line of work.
Is that what you believe in? In helping people? And Mary starts turning and then walking into the shadows specifically.
I believe in helping, and I don't think that help ends at people.
I see.
So how do we do this exactly? Espionage is not my song.
Oh
my
no,
strong
it doesn't.
Suit.
I'm thinking that we just cut to like us like literally walking up, and then and Mary is walking just a little bit behind Xander, but basically she's like, Xander walks like CORP. They'll recognize them. They'll recognize one of their own.
Cool. So I think that's where the cut is, right? Because like
Yeah.
Mary like walks off, and Xander's like, "So how exactly do we do this?" And then you cut. You just smash cut straight over to Xander, like looking at Mary, kind of confused, but like not having, and then like face up, straight walking, like power walking into the Sensorium. With Mary just behind him, and just like, and then sort of the point of like, "So, am I doing this right, or should I change anything up?" Like,
Don't
this feels a little weird to be thinking. Okay.
I'm gonna say like, oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say I'm gonna take a token for asking Xander the question.
Oh yeah,
for the
very
lure
good.
Yeah.
Very good, very good. Yeah. Very nice, very nice. And so when that happens, I want to say like as Xander walks, like we get a close up of like the ground that's the wet pavement, and we see the the smog starting to rise
Mhm.
through the stone somehow, and it starts to like move its fingers towards Xander, and you can feel how it's starting to respond. I'm gonna say like this is Mary feeling it, like how it's
Mhm.
responding to Xander and pulling on those memories that Xander doesn't realize that they have. But I'm gonna ask you, Xander, are you willing to? I'm offering the Sensorium move of like face a threat and its complications, the threat of the sentient smog.
Absolutely. Put it
Okay.
directly in my face. Me, the person who said, let's get hurt by this.
But go ahead and take a token.
Excellent.
I'm gonna say what happens is the the smog starts to move around your ankle, and Mary, because you can see memories, you can see the memories just sort of like shifting underneath the surface of Xander, like they're starting to leak out these fragments of memories, and the smog completely takes over. Xander, what do we see of you in full corp form? Like,
Ooh.
what does the smog change you to look like?
So I think Xander right now, like even though like with power walking aside, right? Like they're very the way even the way they stand is a different type of corp, right? Like it's one designed not to stand out, designed to sort of fade into the background and really kind of it only draws attention to itself necessarily if you know what you're looking for, right? And like while they're dressed well, it kind of again has that sort of it's like you took a suit, you know, through the desert, right? Like it'll still have that sort of dust, sort of grime, and sort of things caked onto it, so it looks a little faded and kind of worn out. But like the hints of like some sort of fashion are there, even though the maintenance of it is not very high. Xander as a corp, like all of it is imaged down to perfection, right? It's like the suit is tailored and crisp, and the bar is perfectly straight, and like even and like you can sort of see almost little like kind of sort of augments running through here and there, marking probably something like whatever the hint of whatever they were before they became the saint. And the difference being too is that this stance is no, is like, you know, is not even so much crying notice me as it just kind of assumes it's going to be the thing in the room that people focus on just by the fact that it's there. And so that's who that is, sort of pulled out of the fog as it sort of coalesces, is someone who like doesn't need to overstate the fact that they think they're the most dangerous thing in the room, because they're pretty sure everyone else is going to come to that conclusion.
Absolutely. And I think as that happens, the people in the front of the sensorium, and so we see, and from this angle, the augmented reality really come into full display, like these rich velvet curtains that move in and out of reality. And this, like this augmented reality can even replicate smell, and you can smell like the lavender and the incense from inside. And as you move closer, you realize, both Mary and Xander, that everyone in the sensorium is reacting differently. There's a certain protocol when a certain corp executive will show up, and we see Kasap Mata come out of from behind the curtain, and what we see of them is uh, they have like shocking pink hair, and their lower half of their face is like covered up by like this neon skull-like mask. I'm gonna say like all the regulars of the sensorium, because they know the smog, they all like wear some sort of like mask situation as a precaution. And so, uh, and she's wearing like a black outfit and netting and these large pieces of like jewelry around their neck. And Kisapmata comes up to you. Executive Eli, it's been a long time since we've had you come by. Would you like the usual alcove?
Out of curiosity, where are they talking? Is because the smoke is sort of manifested, right? Is it manifested as an own thing, or is sort of on like overlaid on top of who Xander currently is? Like how? Because I'm curious which way they're addressing that.
Yeah. So what the smog has done is they've essentially rewritten the way that you project yourselves
Okay.
to other people. So other people cannot see that it's a smog. They think it's really you.
Okay. Interesting.
And only Mary can see like the leaking memory situation because of her San Telmo-ness.
Cool.
I also have a question. Oh wait, no,
Sure.
respond
Yeah.
first. Oh.
No, go for it.
Okay, my question is this like memory of this persona being like after it's gone, will it disappear from Xander's mind? Can I see that it's going to get swallowed by the mist?
Yeah, absolutely. You can already see how the smog is starting to feed off bits of it. Like parts of the memory are starting to like erode even as you watch.
Mary will do nothing. Because that's one
Cool.
of my weak moves.
Nice. Good.
Yeah,
good.
allow
Go ahead and
Sula
take
to
a
claim
token.
something forbidden.
That's fair. They can take it. I think Xander pauses for a moment, and there's like you can sort of see almost. I think Mary can probably tell because they can sort of see almost through the little like the leakage and sort of the overwritten mask. That there's a moment where they sort of twitch over in a way that kind of just they want to look in Mary's direction because that none of this is anything they were planned for. They were basically just doing them a favor, and now suddenly the spotlight is on them. But I think when after a brief pause, which they kind of cover up by sort of looking like I think Xander thinks that they're pretending to look dismissively over everything in the Sensorium. Eli is actively looking dismissively over at everything in the Sensorium, and then sort of turns back and says, I think you're failing if you need to ask. And I think there's probably in the dissonance of it, because I think it's really because Mary can see, right? You get the projected voice, which is just full of like scorn and like why are you talking to me? Just do the thing you're supposed to do. And Xander says it, but Xander's saying it a little like you can tell the scorn is faked in a bit of an act, and it's kind of like actively confusing him to have to talk like this a little.
Yeah, and I think a part of like the way that when Mary sees the like double image of Eli and Xander, there is a moment where she sees the memory being eaten away and then decides not to point this out to Xander.
Fair.
Also, I did want to say before, because I kind of took a liberty to be like, you walk like Corp. I was actually using a neutral move, which is that one of the Santelmo's neutral moves is find the fragment of a secret. So I just kind of made that up.
Good.
Perfect. Nice. I love it. Yeah, and so as you say that, Xander, you see Kasatmata laugh and say, oh, Eli, just as cruel as ever. Don't worry, we'll take care of you, darling. And they lead you in, and you can see like other people, like the Sensorium reacts, like the augmented reality, the curtains fall to hide where you're going. And I'm gonna say like Mary just moves behind, like no one really sees Mary, like this ghost that just sort of walks through. And people like their eyes focus on Mary for a little bit and then fall away, right? Unable to like focus on her for long. Before we go on break, I want to check in again on Kryson. So you were addressing the energy situation. What do you think that looks like, or do you think you've made your way inside the Sensorium?
After filling up the batteries that I have with me, taking them to a drop off point, then they're gonna go back to the Sensorium.
I want to say like it's this. It kind of looks like a tricycle. I don't know if people have seen what that looked like. It kind of looks like a tuk-tuk basically, but like a Filipino tricycle where like it's a motorbike on one end and it's just like overly zealous sidecar on the side is the best way I can describe it. And like I think like this tricycle is like it's a cyberpunk future, so it doesn't have wheels. But it's this is the person who regularly meets up with you to like force the batteries into the sidecar, and they strap everything in place, and they give you like a don't worry, Carson, I'll take care of it. I'll bring it to where it needs to be, right? But where does Carson head to next?
Back to the Sensorium. Because I think they sometimes meet their sympathetic corporate spy there.
Very cool. The Demon's Whisper. Yeah, I kind of want to cut to the Demon's Whisper knows how to get you in past past the front. There's like a side entrance where all the people who work at the Sensorium go in and out of, and you can see like the Demon's Whispers waiting by that entrance, and they look at you. And so do you have an idea for what the Demon's Whisper looks like, or would you like me to go ahead
And I don't.
Okay, I have like all these like backup images like ready to go at a moment's notice because I'm weird like that. So you can see that they also have like a mask on, but they have like pigtails on, and they're wearing like a very like chaste outfit, very dainty, and like this long necklace and this black choker, and they have like red eyeliner across their eyes, and they smile at you. They look really young. They look like they're only about 16. But you know for a fact that this is a body that they just like to use whenever they're going to go meet you. What they really look like is a woman in their 40s, right? When they're working at the CORP, but when they go to see you, they borrow this body. The person rents it out to them, right? And so when the Demon's Whisper sees you, they say, "Oh, Kristen, I'm glad you could come by. There's something going down tonight, and I'll need you here just in case things get violent."
Okay. How likely do you think it's going to get violent?
Well, I mean, it depends on, I mean, I want you to know this is not my fault, right? And then exactly when they're saying that, that's when you hear like this huge thunderous sound from inside the Sensorium, and this booming voice goes, "Ladies and gentlemen, for your pleasure tonight, we have a very rare, strong warrior, an elemental, a Dewata." And that's where we're going to take our first break. So we'll take a 10-minute break.
We have the face claim section. Good.
Yeah, we have an entire tab for NPCs and stuff. All right, so welcome back, everybody. I hope that everybody got water, a chance to stretch, and so on. So let's see what's going on in the Sensorium. So right before the break, Chryson heard coming through someone announcing that a Dewata was going to show up in the arena, and I think we're going to cut to everyone's reactions within the Sensorium, right? And I think this is also a good time to like introduce Ismeria like at the same time. So I think we're going to sorry, I'm trying to not reveal that I got a direct message from someone. Like, I have the worst poker face. I don't play poker. But yeah, so basically, I think let's cut in real quick with Grist and Rose. Like, where are you in your alcove over this arena? Like, what does your alcove look like? Because it responds to your desires and everything.
I think, well, in a surprising turn, I think Grist's side or Grist's part of the alcove is actually very comfy. It's got like plush stuff. And I think there's like, you know, oddly enough, there's like a couple of stuffed animals, maybe like here or there, like almost like a child, like sort of like corner. And there's like some like snacks have manifested, maybe, and like a little video game console, like very much like a weird mix between various teenagers, like states. And Gris is like annoyedly like clearing out like throwing the stuffed animals away. Like, I don't understand this algorithm has to be broken somehow. It always does this when I come here.
I think when you throw one of the stuffed animals, Rose catches it. Right. Yes. You know, this particular alcove, it's been acting up a lot. But you both know what she's really saying.
Yeah, definitely. I think Gris just grabs the stuffed bunny out of Rose's hand and just rips its head off, and, like throws it, like stuffing it all against the wall. Like, I don't know what this programming is trying to imply about my subconscious state of mind, but anyway, you said you had something you wanted to share with me.
And Rose nods and she looks around, and she says, well, algorithm, glitches or no, I brought you to this particular alcove because, and she places a hand against the wall, which in this augmented reality just looks like more curtain. There's like woodwork behind, there's like carvings and stuff. But when she places her hand on the curtain and the wood, it responds and we see the real broken up brick and the real like um, scorched building and open wireframe underneath. And she pushes through and uh, she says, she looks back for a moment and you can see like it's starting to open up. And she says, I do want to tell you everything, Grist, but this is kind of one of those point of no return kind of moments. If I bring you through, you can still say no now and you can go back to your life and you'll be safe. But once we step through here, I will tell you everything, but and I'll do everything I can to protect you. But and you can tell she's really worried looking at you.
Will you showing me what's beyond that veil put you in danger, Rose?
And then Rose smiles a little sadly and she says, oh, darling, you put me in danger a long time ago, but don't worry. I like it that way.
Grist considers, her eye falls upon a picture that has manifested on like the low table of Mary. And she just sort of she puts the picture face down so she can't look at it. And she goes, let's go.
And then so she smiles, and you can tell that she's relieved, but the worry is still there. And the walls respond and melt away, opening up. And you can see like this corridor starts to build itself. And as you step through, you can tell that whoever has built this, they found a way to take advantage of the Sensorium's algorithms to hide a place right here in plain sight that people can access by using the Sensorium's technology and resources against it, right, to hide this part. Um, and as you go closer in, you're confused by there's this moment of like bright greenery and there's actual beautiful trees and plants, and it looks like you haven't seen anything like this that hasn't been touched by the mutations or the fluorescent fauna or flora, anything like that. This looks like how you remember it centuries ago, or the memories of the elementals have carried over the generations. And you can hear the sound of running water, and you know that it's real but it's not real at the same time. And you can tell that this algorithm is drawing upon the memories of the earth and drawing upon the memories of the elementals. And Rose says, I want you to meet everybody. Everybody, this is Grist. And when you step through, the first person you see is River, and she smiles at you. I told Rose that you wouldn't come. And Rose smiles and says, you should give them another chance. And we're gonna cut to someone else first.
I can't believe someone else
While
got
you
that.
like, I'll give you time to deal with those daggers. Like,
Fuck.
and we're gonna cut to Ismeria. What do we see of you? Like here in the
Yeah.
Sensorium. Are you already with Balisong, or are you sneaking your way in, or
Yeah. I guess I want to know, like, is access to the Sensorium like exclusive? Do I have to sneak in? Doesn't seem like necessity, but
well,
like,
technically you would have to, but as an elemental, with your abilities as a Tikbalang, it'd be easy to figure out a way. Technically, only those who are on the list are allowed access into the Sensorium.
yeah, I think Ismail doesn't really care about the list. So I think they will just like sneak in probably through kind of tiny animal form to start, but like once they're like inside, I think they'll shift back to like something akin to like the regular form, except like their clothing has changed. They're dressed more fancy now. They've got like this like really incongruously neat sort of white dress on, like a big kind of like red like kind of like sash or buckle or whatever you pronounce whatever that is. It's a very like Art Deco transistor style kind of dress, I guess. So it kind of really stands out, and they've got like an umbrella just for as an accessory, but they still have the holographic like face, the holo screens, except I think this time instead of like animal parts, they're like showing off human faces this time. It's more close to like that Scanner Darkly changing suits deal. But yeah, they look fancy. They don't look like they stand out, or maybe they do. I don't know. Fashions here seem wildly variable. But he's gonna go straight to where Balisong is. But you did ask for a reaction as to the when the announcement of the water fight um, is happening. So I guess like yeah, when that announcement booms out, I think there's like a moment where the hollow screens shift back to like animal parts, which I guess look weird because nobody's seen animals, unless you're Tikbalang. Um, and I think, ooh, let me look at my moves. I think for a moment, I just want to see. I think I will just like look. Where is that announcement coming from? Like, what do I see? That's kind of like,
Yeah,
um,
absolutely. And so like as you move, like you can see like in this area, the alcoves are like all floating up. Like there's connections to them, but the stairs and the curtains keep moving depending on how people are walking around. But for the most part, like these private boxes are floating in the air above the arena, and it's flooded uh, with bright lights towards the center of it, but it quickly turns into darkness around it. You can tell like there's some like shenanigans going on to make sure that the lights only focused on the arena. And at the same time, there's this fog that's like bleeding out from underneath the arena. And you can tell, I'm pretty sure that you also know about the sentient smog situation. Like some of it's like mixed up in this fog in a way. And you see the Dewata in the middle. You can see like she's chained up right now, but you can see that her body is trying to split into four distinct ones, and you can see like the elemental natures between each one, the fire and the lightning and the water is like she's screaming, but there's no sound that's coming out because the strains on her are also blocking out that sound. And you can see like unlike Risu, who just has the numbers on one side of her face, this Dewat is like completely covered in those numbers and markings of the CORP, right? Just every inch is almost covered in it. But you can see like as she's on the stage, like the stage is buckling underneath her and her power. Like you can tell she's very, very dangerous and she's very, very scared. And on the other side of the arena, there's this dark opening, and there's this unnatural sound from the other side. And the announcer says, "So who will fight our Dewada tonight? Will it be?" And as they go through, you can hear people shouting and screaming, just excited for the different possibilities. And the announcer says, "Will it be Panzer who's going to come in and rip apart this Dewada, an android that was created to be the perfect killing machine? Or will it be Steel, the undefeated champion of the AI from the colony warrior times? Or will it be our very own Balisong?" So, what do you do as Mario?
Oh, I'm gonna find Balisong. I'm gonna find him and give him a piece of my mind. The nice thing with having multiple HUD screens for a face, you don't have to show emotion. Unless you want to see an affronted crab, apparently. But yeah, I think like you get like a shot of like Yusmeria's umbrella, you can't see their face, and then abruptly the umbrella shuts and Yusmeria's kind of like balled up in their hands, and they're gonna like march off to like where Balisong is. Um Give them a right talking to. Um
Exactly. All right, so we'll cut back to that in a bit. And how about Xander and Mary? So, Eli, of course, you've been taken to your private alcove. They redigitized it and rebuilt it for you just for this moment. What does
Mhm.
your alcove look like?
Oh man. I think it's almost like it's a very far like stark contrast from like the sort of lush and like the glitz of the Sensorium. I think it's very like kind of almost Spartan in a way. Like it's very functional. It's very sort of it's not there's not very much accoutrement or even decoration. I think Eli probably used this private space as a way to conduct deals outside of the corporation, um, in a place where like it's a little bit it throws it's a way to throw some people off. Like if people are expecting to do a deal in the corp in the corp environment, moving them is just it's like another power play in the game, right? It's to say, no, I control where we meet. You go where I say, not you don't come to me. I go to where I am going, and you maybe get to follow me, right? I think that was kind of the whole thing for Eli. Um, I think honestly, Xander probably gets to it, sits down, and then just kind of looks uncomfortable because it's not a comfortable place to sit in. And Eli would do like Eli did their best to fake it, right? Like they wanted to seem like I'm sitting on this uncomfortable thing. The very least you can do is pretend that you're comfortable if you want to have like the stones to talk to me. Um, and I think that's kind of the place that they set up.
Yeah, and I like the idea that everything is obsidian and dark metal and edges, right? And then just this like undercurrent of like white light down below that's very dimmed in this alcove. And so uh, from inside, uh, Kisapmata is like sitting next to you, and they look very happy to see you. Uh, and they say, "Well, if you would like to go through the usual, we have placed most of your plans in action as you asked us to do. It's been a long time, but I'm happy to say that most of the plans went well. We have exactly what you need for the final push."
I think at this point, like Xander definitely like side eyes Mary out of the corner of their eye, like, am I done or should I keep going with this? Um
Mary, when she basically, yeah, she's been following behind Xander slash Eli, like their shadow, and when they entered this uncomfortable but stylish and imposing room, Mary immediately starts kind of walking around with her hands out, like she's like spirit sensing or something. So when Xander turns to Mary, she's like in the corner of the room, her hands out and just like looking at the ceiling and basically not paying attention to him unless he
Nice.
draws, I mean, sorry, not him, them, unless they draw attention to her.
Perfect. And I'm gonna say, like, right before Xander, you try to push the idea. Kisapmata says, while I expressed my discomfort with the plan that you set in place, we have been able to find the appropriate predator, as you asked. And so, as that happens, like before she can get into it, you realize she's getting a message, and she whispers back, "No, I'm still in the middle of discussing things with." And at that moment, the announcer says, "Ah, I have just received news that our old crowd favorite has appeared. Fighting the Dewata instead tonight will be our very own beloved Eli." And the alcove starts to move towards the center of the arena and starts to open up. Eli, what does it look like when when the fog changes you into your gladiator form?
I think honestly, I don't think it changes. I think it's the same. Like it's just the same power suit.
What a flex.
Yeah, I think because I think that's what it is, right? Because Eli, I think, was very clearly not like not normal human, as it were. So I think it's like the whole look is designed to do that, right? Like I think that's the idea. Oh crap. Does Mary come with the alcove as well? Like, is Mary like getting just trucked along with this moving alcove? Okay, cool.
Mary is like almost like unconsciously still following
Yep.
Xander, but like her eyes are not focused on what's going on. She is sensing the Sulad. It is.
Yeah.
She is trying to parse out where it ends and this world begins. She's just.
Yep.
So she's no help.
Cool.
Unless you
Xander
ask for help.
I think Xander has specifically noticed that Mary is out of it, and realizes, I think, in this moment, two very very strong and irrefutable facts. One, if they're moving the alcove out to a predator, quote unquote, he's gonna have to deal with whatever it is that Mary doesn't get hurt. Because two, if Grist finds out that Xander let Mary get hurt, he's gonna get punched in the face again with equal and or more lethality. And while he did recover from that, it was uncomfortable. So I think he just sort of like sighs, and then kind of, as like the alcove sort of moves forward, and I assume like as of right now it's still like, I'm saying it's still like shrouded or something still at the moment, because like when it hits the arena and opens up, that's like the big reveal. I think he just sort of like settles back in the chair, like legs crossed, leaning back on it, just trying to seem like this is part of the plan as much as possible, and also potentially to draw the attention to him, as I think what's happening.
And so I think my question for you is,
Yeah.
is this you facing a threat and its complications, or are you going to lose yourself to the pleasures of the Sensorium?
Oh, jeez.
Evens
Are
or
you rolling
odds?
dice? Oh my gosh.
Oh, okay. Nope, we're losing it.
So you're losing yourself? Oh.
Yeah.
So go ahead and take a token. I think what happens is
Ooh.
some of your memories start to flood back of when you were here in this arena, in your former life, fighting and against different elementals, and it was your way of telling the corp, this is how I test their strength.
Okay.
To make sure they're strong enough to serve us.
Oh. Sorry, really good backstory note for that. Filing that, shelving that for later. It's very good. I don't know what Grist's backstory is, but that sounds like a really interesting way for them to have met. I'm gonna throw that.
I'm so down. I'm so
Cool.
down for that.
It just seemed like a thing that might work. Okay, so yeah, that's fine. I think yeah, so I've kind of been trying to figure out like what if Xander was an elemental prior. I think they are. I think they were still a saint, but different with different goals and different zealotry. So I think they're pretty much exactly the same in terms of power and sort of things, but the way they use it now is different. Which is really good because I have a token now, which means I'm going to open. I think when we get to it, Xander is going to open by spending a token to use elemental magic with unwavering faith.
Ooh, I like it.
So we'll see how that works in a second. But yeah, yeah.
But perfect. But let's cut to Chryson first. So Chryson, you hear the announcements. You hear them going through the different people who could possibly be fighting the Dewata, but they mentioned this Eli. So I have to ask you, did Eli fight you too in order to measure your strength, or did you never get to fight in the ring with Eli?
Oh, sure. Yeah. They fought me.
Yeah, so which means when you hear the name Eli, you instantly recognize what they're talking about, and your corpse spy friend, the Demon's Whisper, says, "I did everything I could. They were going to destroy her. They were going to kill her if I didn't do something. They said this is her last chance. We have to help her escape." What do you do?
If the Demon's Whisper could see my eyes, they would be glaring at them. But I have a full head to toe bodysuit on, so yeah. But I'll say, you told me last time that that the corp was done with all this.
I did, but I don't know. There's this weird new executive who's trying to like open up all of Eli's old projects and bring all the plans. I did my best to destroy what I could, but it's like they had a backup plan for every backup plan. This was the last one that I couldn't get rid of.
And Christian's just pacing back and forth a bit, and then uh, overcome with emotion, punches the wall. And I want to use the weak move, leave collateral damage in your wake to cause a blackout in the building.
Oh, nice. So I'm going to say that your power overwhelms the grid of the Sensorium, but your magic is going to backfire in a way too. I'm looking at my setting element, so GM moves. Sure, let's do damage of part of the city with wild magic. And so what happens is that there's a moment where you lose control, and it causes the Sensorium to black out. But everywhere around you, like block after block after block, the power starts to flicker and fade for a moment, and you can see some of the factories in the distance. These long abandoned factories are starting to pull in all of that power and start to burn up. If you don't figure out a way to like balance everything again, these factories, this area is going to start burning down, but you still have time before that happens. Does that sound fair?
Yeah.
Cool. But the power blacks out. There's a moment where like, I think like the alcove is about to open up around Eli, and then the power, everything just goes black, and the augmented reality flickers for a moment, and everyone is just in this horrible, dingy, disgusting like building that's been burnt down and gutted. and then the restraints flicker for a moment on the Dewata, and this huge scream comes out of them, and she stands up and she pulls apart the restraints, and she comes at you, Xander.
Yep. I think Xander is a little gone at the moment, right? I think when the alcove flickers, right, I think what's revealed is that the rest of it isn't it's not like there was no alcove, right? It was literally just like a plain rock, kind of like one of those, like, it's like crappy parts of the abandoned building was like sort of, and the illusion was built sort of on top of it for the walls and everything. But the seats and all those things are truly uncomfortable and not well done. But I think once the box falls away, you see like the little, like, almost like veins and almost like fiber optic cables, little little lines of energy streaking across his face and sort of pulsing in time, uh as sort of like there's a beat of energy on the air. And when the Dewata breaks free, I think Xander says something that Xander normally wouldn't say, but it's probably something that like Grist and um Grist and Chryson have like heard before, which is like, good, doing it the old-fashioned way. And then just takes a deep breath in. There's like a beat on the air, and then summons whatever power from outside and from the satellites in the world, and just beams it right down on top of the Dewata, like just like a hammer of absolute ridiculousness.
So are we smiting the wicked?
Yeah. Yeah, we are.
Okay. So could you read out the move for me, please? Just so that everybody watching knows.
Ooh, where do I find that?
Oh, sure. No worries. So
Sorry.
if you move up,
yes.
elemental magic, smite the wicked.
Cool, found it. So activate ancient protocols of divine fury and activate forgotten satellites. Name your targets. If you offer enough of yourself, the gods will awaken the fury of a dead heaven. The GM will tell you what god answers your call and what violence they will unleash. For as long as the protocols remain stable and your heart is strong, you have the control of the god and access to retribution. And since I'm spending the token to use it unwaveringly, I think that means I pretty much have it. So
yeah, it just means you have to pay a small price, if ever. So
let's do it.
What do you offer yourself?
I think the price of it is different for both Eli and Xander, but I think it's the same price, but it's going to affect it because it's Xander doing it now and not Eli. It affects them differently. Eli's old price was humanity. He didn't care to keep the morals that that he left behind, and so for him it was maintaining the memory of like every single fight he's had is coded into his memory. So I think Eli says, like, offers up the same price again of, I will remember this for eternity, which means Xander will remember it later.
Nice.
When he comes out of it.
Do you have an idea for which god answers your call, or would you like me to offer something?
Yeah, no, I don't have anything about that. That's that. I've been sitting here trying to think about it, and I can't come up with anything. So please feel free.
I think it's going to be the little god of despair that the Dewata had been praying to, not knowing it.
Cool.
Because this Dewata is on the verge of completely giving up. Like, she doesn't think that there's any way out. And so all that she wants to do is try to find oblivion in this moment. And so as the little god comes over, you can see like these blood red tears start to streak down your face as the god takes over, and your clothes start to vibrate and float for a moment as the power overwhelms you.
Can I flavor a weak move here, actually?
Sure.
Cool, because one of the weak moves the saint has is act out in despair and reveal your flaws. Can I modify that a smidgen in this exact instance, given the wording? That, because I think one of the flip side of the coin of being someone who understands and tries to bring hopes to people is you know how to snuff out the light when it's there. So I think without getting into too much detail of it, the fight between Xander and the Dewata isn't really a fight. It's very clearly it's the Dewata fighting for life, and for Xander/Eli, it's another Tuesday, right? And so it's one-sided in that Eli keeps the fight looking like it might swing the other way, and is looking for the moment when the Dewata thinks they can win before snuffing it out immediately. That's his goal, I think.
And so as the light moves through you, like I think the way that the satellites work is that it's just downloading all of this power and this light into your systems. But I'm looking at the setting element of the enslaved.
Yeah.
Do you want to activate the lure of how you were intimately connected with this particular Dewata? You don't have to take the token. I'm just offering it.
You can't just say that. Yes. And I don't have the detail of it per se, but I'm looking back at what you said when you said that someone is reactivating Eli's old plans, right? I think what would be cool is if the person is doing that, they probably don't want to leave very many loose ends. So I think whoever this was worked very closely with Eli prior, and because of this has now set up. Originally, it was set up that this person would theoretically and hopefully die in the arena, and therefore not have the ability to talk about what's happening. But now the dramatic irony of it is that now it is Eli doing that, which is serving it super well for them. So I think, I'm not sure how connected exactly, but that's the kind of thread I want to pull on, I think.
Sure. I think I'll offer something in return, but
Yeah.
Go ahead and take the token. As you come closest, the two of you are fighting, and it's just like smashing against each other over and over again, just their sheer power and your power from the satellites. And the Dewata screams, "I did everything you asked me to.
Yeah.
I killed everyone you asked me to. I didn't leave anything behind. I did everything you asked." And then they're just tears streaming from their eyes. I think we're gonna cut to Chrisanne and Ismaria, because I feel like that makes sense. Let's do Ismaria real quick first, so that Chrisanne, you can, if you want to just smash in Dewata like in the next moment, please feel free to, or if you have a different idea. But Ismaria, because you were hunting down Balasong, you can see people are freaking out because like they've lost the power, the augmented reality is coming apart. So people are like panicking, moving back and forth really quickly. But in the center of it is Balasong, very cool, very unaffected, short hair, large mask, huge overcoat, and they have a butterfly knife in their hands that they're just like casually using, like going back and forth. And when they see you, they say, it's Maria. Of course, when things go to shit, you show up. I'm sure you're behind all of this. Oh, sorry, you're muted for something.
Oh, hello, can you hear me?
Yep, yes, we can hear you. Go ahead, again.
What's happening? What are you doing?
What am I? I'm trying to put on a fucking show, but the fucking power went out. And you can tell like they're really upset for a moment, and they go, I mean, I'm trying to run a business, my dear. Is there something that you wanted? Do I have to give you something to get the power back?
Risu said you had a message.
And then he raises an eyebrow. So you're just here you're not, like they're pointing at like, and people are like, screaming and moving around, what's going on? And what going on between them in the background.
Yeah, there's a fight going on in the background. Yeah, well, these two are having a very somewhat civil conversation. Ismail's like, what's the message? That's what I'm here to get.
Fine. This is not how I wanted to. And so Balasong pulls you close after putting away their Balasong, putting away their butterfly knife. Just to be clear, I don't want to have that weapon out there. And they pull you close and they say, I'll give you the message through a direct connection. And like they lean down and the back of their neck starts to open up and this like cable comes out. And they pull it out looking at you. But this is like, I have to point out, this is a very like intimate thing, like to directly connect with another person and their system.
Yeah, I think Miss Maria not taking their eyes off Buddy Song. As far as the camera can tell, because it's so hard. Why did I do this to this character? Give them a ever shifting face without breaking eye contact. They'll reach up a hand and they will like grab the connection. It almost kind of connects to like their hand. Um, and yeah, they're connected. It's like back and forth. I think like whatever apprehension that Ysmeria had is kind of like has been incinerated away by what she just witnessed. Um, so yeah, no, she wouldn't mind connecting to Balisong. I'm sure nothing bad will happen to either of them.
Yeah, I'm just gonna ask you to take a token for endangering yourself for the sake of others, I think.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah.
But you know, this is fine. Absolutely.
It's fine.
So as you connect, it's kind of like the Matrix moment where the two of you are still standing there, but then everything falls away and it's just this white room around the two of you. And Ismaria, I'm sorry, Balisong looks around and says, "Oh, well, I like what you've done with the place, I guess." And so it takes a while for your system to boot up. What does the place look like now? That is it still a white room, or does
I think
Ismaria's mindscape change?
yeah, I think when Ismaria's Mindscape boots in, that's what starts off is like water starts like rushing down past like their ankles. Um, and as it's rushing, it's almost like pulling in the landscape. Um, and the landscape around him starts to filter in, and you can see that like we're on like in the middle of like a rather shallow ford in the middle of a river. It's like a river crossing, and as the muddy natural landscape is being pulled in, like trees start to like pop out of the ground as they're kind of like being filled in, and I think what you just get is like you were in this like this messy river jungle. We're like right in the middle of the river, and you can feel the water is like ankle deep. um and it's so noisy here, but it's a different kind of noisy. Insects buzzing, birds chirping in the distance. Oh, and the weirdest thing, there's a sun in the sky. It's so blue. Um, and it's nice. Like you can see like there's like these rather misty mountains in the distance. Um, but the thing is like it's so noisy, but you can't see any other things out there. Like you can't see where the animals are. You can might feel the fish brushing past your toes, but you can't see them.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, yeah. So it's like full of life, but you can't really see it. And so when that happens, Balasong actually smiles. And it's rare. You rarely see her smile. And she just lets out a breath and he says, I've forgotten what we once were fighting for. And they shrug
Clearly.
and they say, so a message for Visu. This is for old time's sake. This is just because of what she used to mean to me. But I've heard that the CORP has developed a way to permanently destroy what remains of the spirit realm. They want to take what they can for themselves. They're building something huge. They're trying to find something in the depths of the city. I don't know what it is, but they think they have to destroy the spirit realm to get to it.
And I suppose we're the ones who'll have to deal with it. They'll come for you as well, you know.
And Balasong smiles, I have my protections in place, but it's true. They could come for me as well. But I just don't have it in me to be a revolutionary anymore, my dear. I just fight for money. That's it.
That dear water, the one on the chopping block, are their rights for sale?
Do you have enough money to buy it, my dear?
Let me double check the setting elements. The city actually.
Ooh.
I want to sell part of my soul.
Oh,
For this.
sure.
I think
Yeah.
I think like when Balisong says that, like the you hear like a rumbling and like a baying in the distance, and you see that like there's like this herd coming down across this river. It's like this herd of like um water buffalo. I forgot what the Filipino name for the specific water buffaloes in the
Carabao.
Philippines. Carabao, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this herd just kind of like pops by, and I think like in Ismera's mind space, it's so like vivid and vibrant. And Ismera says, I can say that I have something worth more than just money, but I suppose this kind of experience, you won't be above selling that kind of thing.
And so before I move further, I just want to check in with everybody. Are we okay with where things are headed in the story, or do we want to? Okay, just checking in. And I think Balasan will look at you and they'll say, "You know what I like. You know I have a particular taste."
Oh, make sure that taste is watered, but that water comes home with me tonight.
And Belasang smiles and he says, "I had a feeling you would say something like that. You know, I haven't tasted hope for a long time. I think that's what I'll start with." And so with that, I think we cut to like it's just this image of like Balisang moving closer, and like the mindscape around you starts to change. The forest grows dark as the sun sets and the moon rises, and we see the aswang in their natural element of predator, and it starts to fade to black. And when we cut back, I think I want to have one last moment uh, of Krisan. Like, I think what we see is Xander and the Dewata are fighting back and forth, but uh, there's a sense like you can see that the arena is starting to like close in on the two of them. You know that this means that the fight is coming to an end, which is weird because there's no clear winner right now. Like they're both evenly matched as they go back and forth. But Kristen, what do you do?
Kristen rushes to the arena, or rather leaps to the arena in one giant leap. And did the announcer give the Dwada name? Was that?
They did. They just called them Dewata. Unfortunately,
Oh, okay.
it's kind of a horrible thing. Like they don't. They just gave a number.
Okay.
But I will offer you the same thing that I offered Zender. Do you want to say that you're intimately connected with this Dewata and that you actually recognize them?
No, I don't. I don't think they recognize them.
Okay, so what happens when you leave in?
So I wanted to use the strong move, nurture and protect someone. Yeah, I'll say to them, I'll say to them, this is not you. And I'll play with them that there's another way. There's hope. Yeah, I want to open my mind and show them uh, show them images of me and the guardian of the forest. Our our conversations.
Absolutely. And I think like as this happens, the fight is still going on, but the memories and the images are flooding in, and you can see like the tears are stopping, and the god of despair is starting to like lose their hold because they have no despair to hold on to anymore in this moment. um and you can see like the Dewata, she starts to breathe in and out, and you can see the as she gains this hope, as she looks at you, the numbers start to spread, trying to cover up every last inch of her, right? Like as if punishing her for allowing her to hope this much. But Xander, I want to ask, what does it look like? Are you going to let go of the god of despair, or are you going to hold on to them?
I would love to do something.
Oh, sure.
As,
Sure.
Yeah, do it.
Go, go, go,
uh,
go, go, go.
uh, we're also running out of time, but just one last thing.
Of course,
I
of course.
think Mary. I mean, with all of this commotion, Mary is kind of like drawn out of her like spirit gazing zone, and I think it takes her a bit to like fully detach herself from what she was a part of in order to like even understand what's going on. And I would love it if so. This is up to you, John. If Mary could go up to Xander, or even just shout, I guess.
Mhm.
I'm sure Mary can shout. Um, and just ask them, Xander, what did you say earlier? What did you say that you believed in?
First off, ow. Uh,
Sorry.
no, it's good. It's good. Okay. Yeah.
I don't know if you want like we could also do
No,
something else.
no, it's good. I love that because I think it ties into using a weak move that I think would be a really good one here. Because the fourth weak move that the Saint has that isn't a question is hurt or destroy a little god. And so I think what Xander does is when they hear that, um, because I think there is a trade-off, right, to inviting the little gods to use your body, where the little gods get control over you and can sort of dictate what you do if done within a certain way. Um, but I think I think I wanted to find that there's a trade-off to smiting the wicked, in that the gods are trusting you to use their power, especially for Xander, who's using it with the faith that he has, or that they have, to, and because they have that protocol, so that's like that stable protocol, um, they have the control of that god in that moment, which is, it's trust in both ways. But I think maybe in this moment, I think Xander has realized the hurt he's doing, or the hurt they're doing, and they will turn that back upon the god of despair. Um, and I don't think they'll destroy them, but I think they'll turn that despair back upon that god, and force them out of both themselves and the other Dewata. Because I think we've hit the point where Xander, I think, is now aware of where they are and what is happening. Um, and sort of Mary calling out, I think, is the snap, like the switch changes, and then that happens. If that's
And
something I can do.
yeah, and I think as you force out the god of despair, we can see them reach out towards you and try to place their arms around your neck. And for a moment, they place their forehead against yours and they say, "You and I together, we built such beautiful and terrible things. And for you to forsake me now, after all these years, but you'll be back. Eli, you always come back to me."
And I think Xander because I think Xander this entire time hasn't necessarily been aware of that memory, looks them dead in the eye and says, "I don't know who that is," and then banishes them.
Very cool. So actually, I want to ask our Santelmo, as the god of despair is pushed away and pushed back, there's a memory that's attached to the little god of despair of the time that they worked with Eli. You do have a weak move of destroying a precious secret or memory, or are you going to allow the memory to survive?
I think, judging by what I just did, I will reach out, and it's actually the mist, I think, of and intermingled with the essence of Sulad, reach kind of like eats into that memory.
Very good, very good. Go ahead and take a token for it. Okay, so I'm so aware of the time. I think this is where, is everyone okay? This is where we like, I think the last thing we see is there's this like dramatic blackout as all the lights turn off. And all that we see is the Dewata glowing in the dark, growing brighter and brighter, almost incandescent. And then Balasong steps into the arena and says, "A deal is a deal." And they look back towards their guests and they snap their fingers, and the power comes back on, and the entire augmented reality falls over this broken, disrupted building, covering it once again in this strange beauty. And Balasong says, "Ladies, gentlemen, and others, thank you so much for joining us here tonight. Please allow yourselves to gain refreshments and to rest before our next show." And then there's this polite smattering, and you can hear some rich people saying, "Oh, I knew this was part of the show the whole time, you know, just like this part of it, just that little bit of excitement." And the camera pans once again through the bits of the holographic stuff, and we come back to that scene with Grist, River, and Rose, and there's a moment of panic in River's eyes as she looks at Rose and says, "They've disrupted we're running out of, we don't have much time," and everything disappears into white. And we'll come back and see what happened next week. I was thinking, with the power grid going down and this fight at the Dewata, the fact that they're all existing in this in-between space of the Sensorium, stuff went down for sure. So we'll see what happened. But yeah, so for everybody who is listening, or I'm sorry, who is watching on the stream, thank you so much. It was super fun playing with everybody. We'll go through our outro so you know where to find us on the wide range of the spirit realm of the internet that we have. So I'll go ahead and start. My name is Jamie. I use they, them pronouns. I made this game. I enjoyed all the daggers that everyone gave me today with such relish. Thank you so much. Good stuff, good stuff. And I can't wait for next week. You can find me on Twitter at Temporal Hiccup. You can also find me on itch.io at Temporal Hiccup 2. Balikbayan is available there, though we're playing with a newer version that I'll be uploading soon, I hope. So we'll see about that. But yeah, and let's go to Agatha. Agatha, where can we find you on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter at Mighty Shrimp with 2 Y's. You can also find me again on Wednesdays here and or Fridays at the same time, 7 p.m. Eastern time on Asians Represent right here, where we have our show called The Wrap Up, and we talk about different subjects. And throwing it to Connie.
Hello, everybody. I have been Gris, your lovely Aswang. My pronouns are they, he, and she. You can find me on Twitter at by Connie Chung. I am also the GM and executive producer behind Trans Planar RPG, which is an all-transgender person of color led 100% homebrew Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition live stream actual campaign set in a original non-colonial anti-Orientalist world. New episodes drop every Saturday at 3 p.m. Central U.S. time on Twitch. So follow us on Twitter at Transplanar RPG. We would love to see you in stream. Should I pass along the character keeper? I believe that would be John.
Cool.
Oh, now I get it. The character. Yeah. Okay. Now
Aha.
I did not make that association last. Okay, I've got it. I'm here. We're here. Hello, my name is John. You can find me on Twitter and Twitch at Ryamasa. Twitter has the 0 instead of the O because social media. But I am here on this show, Balikbayan, 7 p.m. EST on Asians Represent. I'm also on the show Entanglement, which is an Expanse RPG game played on Unmade Gaming at 8 p.m. EST on Thursdays, as well as I also am a variety streamer who streams in Tuesdays and Thursdays at 3 p.m. EST, playing a bunch of different games like Red Dead Online, Destiny 2, Final Fantasy 14, Payday 2, Hades, kind of whatever I feel like at the moment. So yeah, I think that's really about it for me. I use he they pronouns, and apparently a whole bunch of people really want to see a podcast about spam, which I'm super I didn't think that would get as big a reception as it is, but I guess that's my new project. So maybe look, if you identify as Asian, and if that's or if you're Asian American or any sort of diaspora, let me know, because we might have a spot on a podcast for you. The only condition is you have to eat spam silog, which is a spam, eggs, and rice thing that is a breakfast staple in my home. As I'm Filipino, I'm second gen Filipino American, so that was my Saturday mornings was spam, eggs, and rice, and Saturday morning cartoons. So the only stipulation is if you want to be on the show, you have to eat spam, eggs, and rice while we're recording. That's the only stipulation. Everyone else listening will have to deal with it. But that's the thing. And we're going to talk about how you make it, how your parents made it, how your friends make it, and then we're also going to read the worst spam email we get that day. So that's it's a podcast. It's called Junk Food. Apparently now I'm making it. So look forward to the form for that to submit if you want to come on the show.
Spam's the best.
Spam is fucking great. So we're passing it on next to Ting. I did it. I got it. I know how it works. Figured it out.
Hey, I'm Ting. My pronouns are he, him. You can find me on Twitter at TingTut. My other links are there. I'm here on Wednesdays. Then on Tuesdays, I'm over at Nerds with Dice, playing in the Rift campaign. It's at 8 p.m. EST. And occasionally, not occasionally, several times a week, I stream on Twitch at odd hours. Right now, I'm playing Control. And now to Andrew.
Hi, yeah, you can find me on Twitter at lpondoc. That's LPONDOC. Again, shout out the Roll Plus Bond community, which is at Roll Plus Bond. Again, we got that charity stream next week. Jesus, it's next week. But also, if you follow that Twitter, sometimes we'll tweet out like games made by members of the community. The last game that we tweet out is a game called Sweet Peony by Adam Silverstein. It's a 2-player game about telling the story of a person or an object through the lenses of joy or sorrow, which is great. If you want to have some lovely duet game feelings, there you go. But yeah, that's where you'll find me. And this time next week, I'll be shouting out again the charity live stream. And now that we put the vote to our community as to which charity we'll be supporting, but that'll be for next week. For now, just follow those 2 accounts.
So awesome. All right, so that was Balikbayan Into the Dark. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. Oh, yeah. Oh, I said, but I'll go ahead and say again. You can find me on Twitter at Temporal Hiccup, and you can find me on itch.io at Temporal Hiccup as well. Yes, I'd be super jazzed if you follow, talk to me. I love meeting new people, so it'd be super cool. Yeah, so that's me. Thank you so much, everybody. That's Balikbayan Into the Dark. We'll be back next week to see what happened to our Tigris, River, and Rose in between the Sensorium spaces. And yeah, so we'll see everybody next week. Bye.